Greetings of peace and love, everybody. My name is Rob Hotep, and I'm broadcasting on behalf of 13scienceastrology.com. I'm doing this particular video on alchemy. Now, I thought about doing a video on alchemy a lot of times, but I always decided against it, and that's because alchemy is a science that's really misunderstood, even by those that study it. Alchemy is really the basis of magic. And alchemy originally started off as more of a mental science. It was more of a mental demonstration. And it wasn't until humans became more materialistic that alchemy became more about turning metals into gold. And that's what most people think about when they think about alchemy. They associate it with materialism. The reason why most people want to turn metals into gold is because gold has such value. And most people want to go and cash it in for money, to go buy Fendi bags and to go, buy certain things with, to go buy shades with that cost $200 and $300. That's what most people want to do when they think about turning gold or turning metal into gold. They're thinking about what they could do materialistically on a material level. And when you really study alchemy, and when you understand it, and when you understand the alchemists and the way of the alchemists, you'll know that they were nowhere near materialistic. And that's why I like to start off, when I teach alchemy, alchemy is a deep subject, but I like to start off by telling everybody that alchemy is a mental science. I always keep that in mind. It's the beginning of mental sciences, or the origin of mental sciences. Alchemy is really the basis of magic. Alchemy is important, and alchemy is something that most people associate with Egypt. And the reason for that is because in Kemet, or Egypt, some of you know it as Egypt, they were master alchemists, master magicians. And the reason for that is because their land itself was called Kemet, or Alchemy. Alchemy goes back to Kemet. So when you talk about alchemy and Kemet, these are the same terms. Chem is the root word. So Kemet was started by alchemists. And a lot of people, don't realize that. Some people do, but Kemet was started by alchemists. And these alchemists came from Atlantis, and some came from the center of the earth. They were part of a secret order called the Great White Brotherhood, which I won't go into here. And notice the white has nothing to do with their nationality or their race, because they didn't do a race back then. But these alchemists moved into Kemet. And that's how Kemet got its name, because they were in the land of Kemet, or the land of the alchemists. This is where you went to become an alchemist or a practitioner of alchemy, to go to school for alchemy, because they were masters. They knew how to make gold, literally out of nothing. They were masters at mental sciences. They knew how to create beings, literally. They knew how to create entities. This is where cloning came from. This is where quantum physics came from. All of this came from these particular groups of people, these alchemists. They had electricity, they had Wi-Fi technology, they had all of these things. And I haven't done my video on Atlantis yet for many reasons, because I'm still building up to it. I have other subjects to cover, but I'm going to cover how why these alchemists moved from Atlantis into Kemet. But originally, the alchemists from the surface came from Atlantis, and then you had another group of alchemists that moved into Kemet, and they came from the center of the earth or whatever. And the ones that came from the center of the earth really never showed their face on the public scene. They were more like, they instructed and taught the beings on the center of the beings on the surface how to run things. Now, alchemy was actually founded by Tahuti. It's founded by Tahuti. Some of you are familiar with Tahuti, some of you aren't. Some of you call him Thoth, or Thought. Thoth goes back to thought. And the term Thoth the term thought goes back to Thoth, I should say. And Thoth is the Greek way to pronounce Tahuti, because the Greeks, they pronounce things differently or whatever, but Tahuti was his Kemetic name, or his name on Sirius actually was Tahuti, or Zehuti. And Zehuti was the master magician that been around for a really long time, thousands of years. And he actually started off in Atlantis, and he moved into Egypt or whatever. He brought a lot of sciences into what you now know as Egypt or whatever, and alchemy was one of them. He taught magic. And the reason why he taught magic is because magic was the only way for humans to be able to become masters of polarity consciousness. And that's really the basis of this video, because I want to talk about how alchemy helps you to become a master over polarity consciousness. When you start talking about astrology, astrology works because of alchemy. So that's why I will publicly talk about astrology and give out information about astrology, because you have to really to fully be a master alchemist, you have to fully understand astrology first before you get into alchemy. And the basis of astrology is dealing with elements, it's dealing with planets, it's dealing with energy, and alchemy is dealing with energy, and basically is dealing with elements. So I don't want to jump around here, but let me get back to Tahuti. So Tahuti, he taught magic because he knew that magic was the only way that humans would be able to redeem themselves. Magic would be the only way that the human would become enlightened, or a son or daughter of the light again. And it would only be through magic and the manipulation of the elements. You have to manipulate the elements to become a god here, to become an Adep here. And the reason for this is because the elements were manipulated to create humans. Humans are really an extraterrestrial to this planet in general, because of the fact that humans didn't originate here, for one thing. A lot of the experiments for humans originated somewhere else on another planet, which I won't go into here, but I've covered in other videos. So humans are ETs, because humans didn't originate here, and the things that make up humans did not originate here. So in order for humans to exist here, humans have to create magic or alchemy. They have to become alchemists in order to exist here. So, and those humans that don't want to learn magic and don't want to learn alchemy, they basically become the sheep, and they become basically the victims of the magicians. So it's either you're going to learn magic and become an Adept and a practitioner, or you'll basically become a person that's practicing magic. You'll become their victim, or some people say sacrifice or whatever. So at the end of the day, it's just like in nature. You have the predator and you have the prey. So at the end of the day, Tahuti knew that in order for humans to exist, they would have to learn magic to exist. And it's still like that to this day. The reason why certain humans are more successful than others is because they're more in tune with magic than the other person. And people say, well, that's not true. Hard work pays off and all of that type of stuff. But hard work does pay off, true indeed. But when you're in tune with this universal source of abundance and energy, there's nothing that can go wrong for you. And the only way to get aligned and in tune with that is through aligning yourself mentally with the universe. And that's what alchemy is for. So Tahuti, he knew these things. So he knew he had to teach first the building of the will to get people to become adepts in alchemy. The first thing you would have to do, or first lesson, will be in building the will. Because in order for magic to work, you have to have a strong will, period. There's 5 elements that need to take place that Tahuti taught in order for magic to work. You need a person, a place, a thing, and you need belief, or some people will say faith, and a strong will. Those are 5 things that you definitely need to manipulate reality, to make reality work for you in the way you want it to work. And that's how Tahuti taught it. So when you deal with alchemy, it goes into studying the elements, and the elements go back to energy. So alchemy is based on the 5 elements, which many people have heard me talk about: air, earth, water, fire, ether. And then there's a 6th element that really contains all the elements, which some people say is another 6th element that I won't go into here. But there's really 5 elements that I'm going to cover here in alchemy. So you have the 5 elements, and to become a good alchemist, you have to learn how to manipulate these elements. You're thinking that, well, how am I going to manipulate air? What am I going to do? Grab some air out the sky and manipulate it? Like, see, people are so linear. You know what I'm saying? They're so linear. And to be a good alchemist, you have to be more so right-brained. You can't be linear. So what you're doing is you're taking things and bringing them together, which creates a new thing. Because anytime you mix things, this is alchemists knew this. This is a secret here. I'm telling one of them secrets. Hopefully they don't get at me for this. But when you mix things together, it automatically creates a new element. So if I mix, just like if I mix 2 hydrogens and 1 oxygen, this creates water, something new. Hydrogen is one thing, oxygen is another. You mix them together, it creates water. That's alchemy. That's basically the basis of it. So it works the same way in magic. So when you mix things together and bring different elements together into a ritual, this is creating alchemy. And you use your mind. The mind comes in through the will, and you use your mind to manipulate these elements or these things into the reality that you want. So you're taking things and turning them into something different. So for instance, you taking these crystals, and then with the power of your mind, through working mental alchemy and imagination and creativity, you're imagining these crystals turning into a table full of, say for instance, you have a table full of citrine crystals, and you want this to turn into a table full of cash. Then you just use your mind to mentally to create that. And I know I'm using a material example because, like I said, people are materialistic, so you have to give them what they want. People need money and they need material things right now. That's where we're at. And really, to be an effective magician, honestly, and really, you have to have a lot of time to be an effective magician, because you gotta have a lot. It's like you're a scientist, really. Like when you're a magician, it's a lot of experimentation to see what works and what doesn't, and does this work and does that work. So you need a lot of time, which means you need a lot of money. So that's why I always like to start off. I mean, it's not wrong with working money rituals and teaching people how to use alchemy to work rituals and stuff like that in the beginning, because that's what you're going to need to really become a successful alchemist. Is you're going to need a lot of time. I mean, you really don't need a lot of money if you can get yourself in a position where you don't need money some kind of way. Like most of the alchemists, they lived in monasteries and stuff like that. See, that's what people fail to realize. Like they lived in communal environments, so in cooperative type of environments, and money was not as important to them as it is to us, because we're individualists. So we can't get deep into a lot of magic because of the way that we survive. And it's designed like that for a reason, the way that we survive here in this matrix. The rulers have this thing set up, man. They really had this thing set up to where people are working a 9 to 5, and they don't really have time to do anything, because when you get off work, you got to run errands and eat, and by the time you do all that, you're tired. You just want to go to sleep and wake up for the next day. So people don't have time to really study alchemy and learn how things work and stuff like that. So that's why I'm like telling people to get free first. Use the alchemy and the sciences to create the things you need to get free, however you do it. You don't have to use it to manifest money. If you want to use it to manifest a situation where you don't have to pay rent, or manifest a situation where you learn a certain skill that creates an unlimited source of money. Because people want to do money rituals, but why not do a creativity ritual so that you could create a skill for yourself that will help you to attract money? Money is linked into creativity. And that's another thing about alchemy. All this is related, because you might think creativity has nothing to do with money, but remember, as an alchemist, you take something abstract and turn that into what you want it to be. So I could take a computer and say that this computer represents money to me. You know what I'm saying? Or I could take a hard drive and say this hard drive represents gold to me. You know what I'm saying? And with my mind, the power of my mind, if I believe that hard drive will eventually lead to me getting a block of gold, because I've used that as a sigil, or basically as a symbol to represent what I wanted to represent, and I programmed it to represent that. So that's what you're doing in alchemy or whatever. That's what you're doing. You're working with the elements. Now, to study alchemy, I basically covered, who started it, the best culture to look at if you want to know what alchemy has produced is to look at Kemet and the pyramids that were built and the things that, the Kemites have accomplished. You want to definitely look over there. Now let's go into like applying alchemy, like in your regular life, like in your personal life. Like, how does alchemy work? Now, alchemy is basically, like I said, working with elements, and elements are based on energy. Now, you have the elements of the periodic table. Now, I mean, there's 99 plus elements or whatever. I already know that. And those elements all go back to the 5 elements though. So every element on the periodic table traces itself back to one of those 5 elements that I named. And the Chinese are great at this. See, in the Chinese medicine, I studied a lot of Chinese herbology. I took courses on that so that I can learn how to become a herbalist. And in Chinese herbology, they teach about diagnosing things through elements and categorizing things through elements. So earth, air, water, fire, ether. They would diagnose you based off something being hot, cold, based off something being watery, dry, pungent, sweet, bitter. You know what I'm saying? Things are put into categories, and this is how alchemy works. You have to first break down things to its core. So you have to learn the core of the thing so that you can learn how to manipulate it. So you have to learn exactly what this thing is composed of, and everything is composed of one, if not more, of the 5 elements. Everything on this planet is composed of one of the 5 elements. So if you want to become a great alchemist, you have to learn how to take those things, bring them together to create what you want to create. And the best way to do that is to learn 2 principles of energy, which is Tao and then Qi. You have to learn about the Tao, which is basically how the energy flows, you know what I'm saying, or it's basically dealing with the balance of opposites. That's what the Tao is dealing with. It's dealing with the balance of opposites, whatever those opposites are. When you balance the opposites, this is being in tune with the Tao. When those opposites are not balanced, you're not in tune with the Tao. So you have to learn the Tao, then you have to learn about Qi. Qi are basically, it's pretty much life force. It's spirit. You know what I'm saying? It's breath. And you have to know about these things because Qi is what causes planets to move. Qi is what causes your organs to do the things that they do without you having to think about them, the involuntary responses of your organs. Qi is what causes colors to look a certain way. Qi is what is the reason why yellow is yellow and blue is blue. It's because of Qi. You know what I'm saying? So you have to understand Qi. You have to understand Tao. You have to understand the I Ching. You have to understand the I Ching, which is dealing with change. Because if you don't understand how things change, which goes into the Tao, that's when the Tao is one thing, and then you go deeper into it. When you go deeper into the Tao, you deal with the I Ching. And I know I'm talking fast here, but this is a one-on-one video to help you to understand alchemy. So I'm going to get a lot of words out here that you can research on your own. That's what I'm doing here. My goal is just spark the mind. You know what I'm saying? That's what it's all about, to get people to think. And you can go research the words and learn more. So you're not going to learn everything from Ram Hotep on this video. Again, these videos are introductory because people spent 50 and 100 years studying this stuff or whatever. I mean, it's still, these people spend their lives. They come back in second lives studying the same stuff. Like some alchemists, they learned how to, they were such great magicians that even when they did become more dense and became physical, they would go from body to body. Like when one body is getting old, they'll go into another body and spend a whole nother lifetime studying alchemy. Because that's how deep it is. So it's a lot that could be said, but I'm trying to give you the basic principles. So you understand the I Ching, that's how the change. That's how things change, because the only constant in this universe is change. You have to understand change to understand magic in this universe. You have to understand the Ying or the Ling. Some people say the Ling or the Ying, and which is dealing with the this is basically dealing with the particles that compose Qi. See, Qi is basically dealing with all the compilation of energy. You know what I'm saying? All the elements combined together. And then Qi is composed of something, which is Ling or Ying. You know what I'm saying? And this is dealing with pretty much the particles that Qi is composed of. So say, for instance, Qi would be like atoms, and then the Ling or the Ying would be like the quarks, the biaps, and things like that. You know what I'm saying? The things that the atoms are composed of, what they're made of. So as you can see, alchemy and all of this stuff was taught. You know what I'm saying? And the Chinese have done a great job of preserving a lot of this information. But this information was taught in Kemet. It was taught by the Mayans. It was taught all over the world. And I like to study from the Chinese modality because they've done the best, like I said, at preserving a lot of the information. But I mean, those are the things that you have to understand or whatever, and the concepts you have to understand if you want to become an alchemist. And then from there, you learn how to, was basically like you learn how to create your own Feng Shui. And basically what that is that you learn how to make this energy work for you. You learn how to take, you learn the Tao or the way. You learn how to work with the Qi. You bring those two together, which is alchemical effect, Tao and Qi, and you create Feng Shui. You make the energy work a certain kind of way. And that's basically based upon who you are, based upon your natal chart, based upon your expression, based upon what elements that you are mostly composed of or elements that you may be lacking. So how the energy works for you is based upon who you are. But essentially is you have to learn on the one-on-one aspect is just learn how to bring all the elements together. That's the main thing or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Is learning how to bring the elements together, learning what the things are composed of, categorizing things, like learning like, okay, so what particular element would a candle be up under? A candle would be up under earth and fire, because in order for a candle magic to work, you need a fire, you need earth. So that's dealing with fire and earth magic. You know what I'm saying? That you want to say you want to bring some air in with that. You got to bring some air in with that, but the air comes in when you blow the candle out. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of times people don't realize that when you work in magic, a lot of times you're the only person. This is what Tahuti wanted people to realize. He never would have people working candle magic and stuff like that, because Tahuti taught that you were all you needed. That's all you need for the ceremony to work. Because remember at the beginning of this video, I talked about how you need person, place, thing, belief, and will. And all of those, you have all of those. You're a person. You're located somewhere. If you're a person, a body, you're in a place. You're a thing because you have a body, you know what I'm saying, which is a thing. And then you have will and faith. So you need all of those things to create magic. So essentially to get into mental magic is learning how you can imagine really that you have all of these things and create magic. And I know people are like, well, that just doesn't make sense to me. You can imagine an altar and imagine a scenario and a whole magical ritual and imagine it. And that's still a ritual. You still went through it because you imagined it and you went through the initiation. So even just going through it on a mental level, the initiation, even when you do it physically, like everybody that's been in different schools and been initiated in different schools knows that it's not the physical initiation that makes you a student into that school. it's what happens to the subconscious mind. It's not what happens physically. It's what happens once you do the initiation. The initiation sparks something. It unlocks something in the subconscious mind that creates a change in your life. So you can mentally go through these things. Like, that's like understanding mental alchemy, is you can mentally create a magical ritual based off those 5 elements to change your life. And that's how you get into working mental alchemy or whatever. Now, of course, it can get way deeper than that. I know I touched on a lot of stuff. I mean, I really did just touch literally on a lot of stuff in these 20 minutes. But I just wanted people to get an idea of Tahuti. I want people to get an idea of alchemy, where it came from, get an idea of magic, why it's important, and to basically get an idea of how you can bring all of these things together to help you right now, today. You know what I'm saying? Learning how to work and create your own Feng Shui. It's very important or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Because it's just a lot of people that are struggling out here. You know what I'm saying? People are really struggling, not just financially, but just mentally. And it's like, we're struggling because we're out of tune with nature. And being out of tune with nature literally goes back to the flow. So you got to be in tune with the Tao, or how things flow. You know what I'm saying? Because that's where disease comes from. When you get out of tune with nature, which is universal law, that's when that's when disease manifests. I mean, that's when certain health problems manifest on a 3-dimensional level or whatever. So I mean, this comes from the 4th dimension through work with energies, because energies are located on the, you know, in the 5th and 4th dimension, but things manifest on the 3rd dimension from those dimensions first. So when your energy is off, when you're not in tune with your Tao or your Feng Shui, when you're not working with Qi or taking in Qi, because Qi is health, is air, is vitality, but it's a certain way that you have to breathe it in and take it in. And it's mainly through just proper breathing through meditation. So that's why you have to meditate, because these diseases manifest on an energetic level before they attack you on a physical level. So if your energy is right, nothing can attack you. If your energy is right, nobody can put a spell on you. That's why Tahuti was a master Jedi. He was a master Jedi because he taught the his initiates in the school of alchemy, the alchemists, how to basically keep their energy so high that they didn't have to worry about attacks on a lower level, because it was all about keeping the energy high, staying divine, staying pure, staying within the light. You know what I'm saying? So, and you can learn more about alchemy by studying the Emerald Tablets of Tahuti. But it's a lot. But you have to be in tune with your energy if you want things to go right for you. People are struggling in the matrix. People have health problems. People have mental problems. People seem like they can't attract. Their magnet is broken. You have to realize that all of these things are coming from a person not being in tune with and balanced in nature. Period. As long as you're balanced with nature, then nothing will happen to you. You won't fear anything. There will be no fears. There will be no anxieties. People can say shit to you, but it doesn't matter, because you know you're in tune with nature. So nothing can get up under your skin. You know what I'm saying? You don't have no worries. But when you get out of tune with nature, then that's when you become susceptible to all type of attacks, diseases, just lower energy in general. So again, if you want to be an effective alchemist and you want things to work on a magic level, if you don't have the discipline to stop eating meat, if you don't have the discipline to not do certain things, to stop smoking, if you don't have the discipline to stop drinking, and if you don't have the discipline to, even, because I'm going to go deep with this now, because if you don't have the discipline to put yourself to I guess you could say, to try these things, to smoke and drink and then get off, because some people say, well, I don't smoke and I don't drink, but you've never done it. So could you smoke and drink and get off? Because that builds will. See, in Magick, we deal with will. And this is something that that's why I don't get religious here, because this is not a religious channel. I might talk about a lot of spiritual concepts and a lot of doing things religiously, which is a form of religion when you do something over and over again. But, you know what I'm saying, this is definitely dealing with magic here, this channel. And it's all about manipulating and strengthening the will. So a lot of times the magician would expose themselves to certain things for a certain period of time and then stop and then turn around and expose themselves to something else. So a magician might turn around and go on a sex spree for 40 days to create sexual magic and then turn around and be celibate for a year. Or abstinent, I should say, for a year, because I don't like the term celibate. That's religious. But they might turn around and be abstinent for a year to use that energy for something. So it's all about using energy. That's how you work alchemy, is even your sexual energy. That's the best form of energy that you have to create magic. It's through your sexual energy, the chi that's located within the lower chakras, if you can learn how to raise that up. But most people don't learn how to raise it up. People are just stuck, they're blocked, their energy is just off, the shift is happening, things are speeding up, the vibration of the planet is speeding up, and people can't deal with it. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of people, I mean, if you can't speed up with the planet, then you'll fall off. So a lot of people are dying, a lot of people are just passing, a lot of people are getting sick. And it's just because of the energy and stuff like that that's really going on right now, because we're coming towards the end of 2012 and things are speeding up, and it's going to get quicker in 2013. I mean, this is definitely just the beginning or whatever. So that's why I'm introducing this information, learning Feng Shui, learning about energy, and learn how to stay in tune with the Tao, which is balance. Because we talk about Ma'at is the same thing as the Tao, really. It's learning how that energy works. It's like you talk about astrology and the planets, and they create certain effects. You to understand why these things are taking place, you got to study the Tao. You got to study Feng Shui. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of stuff that you got to study if you want to know why these things work. So, like I said, this is just one-on-one information. So I'm going to go ahead and shut this video down. Hope you guys learned something about Feng Shui and about alchemy, and about Tahuti, and a little bit about Atlantis. I know I'm saying I'm going to do a video about Atlantis. I'm leaking out bits and pieces, if you notice. So when I do the video on Atlantis, you'll be able to understand it totally, because most of it will be leaked out in other videos. But I'm doing that because you can't really understand Atlantis until you first understand Egypt. You got to understand certain things about Egypt and alchemy, and certain things even about astrology I have to teach before you really can go into understanding what was going down in Atlantis. Because as a teacher, I'm responsible for the information I put out, made a pact with the universe, and I must stick to that. I must uphold my end of the bargain or whatever in the pact that I made. So any information I put out there, I have to make sure that it's understandable to the people now, and it's clear. That's the main thing. Now, some people, they're going to try to find holes in your information just so they can create drama. I mean, that's what people do. Some people aren't in it for the information. They're in it to kind of find a hole in what you're saying. So, you know what I'm saying? I don't really make it about that. I just try to keep it all about the information and keep it straight up, basically. So I'm going to go ahead and shut this video down. Again, thank you guys for listening again. I thank you guys for watching. Until we meet again, I'm going to leave you all in peace, love, light, and prosperity.